Welcome back to course of C programming. Myself Raghu Prasad Konandur. In this session, we will discuss about data types, identifiers, and keywords. So every programming language has its own data type. C program also has three main data types. Those are primitive data types, derived data types, and then user-defined data types. Primitive data types are further divided as character, int, float, double, and then void. And derived data types are further divided as array, pointer, function, user defined as enumeration, structure, and then union. So in this session, let us concentrate on the primitive data type. So why data type is required? We have to any information available is either in the form of a number or a set of character. Number may be further, it may be having a decimal point. So we need to store this information when we are working on a programming language. So in order to store that information, we need a data type. So data type, again, the memory size of the basic data type may change according to the whether you have a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system. And we can find the size occupied by any data type using size of operator to check the size of a variable. And we will see the different data types and its size according to the 32-bit architecture. So we have different data types further divided, like int is further divided and also long is further divided. So let us understand many of them. So broadly the data types are like int. It's in terms of the bytes, it's at least 2 or usually it is 4 bytes. And format specifier. So when we want to display this information, so we will be using either %d or %i. For character, again its size is 1 bytes. It's going to occupy 1 byte size in the memory, and its format specifier is %c. Float 4 bytes, and it's %f. And you have double. So double size is double the size of the float. It's 8 bytes, and it's percent on f. So this is what we are going to use. LF we are going to use when we say the double. And then you have short int. So in short int is exactly like it's a, if you want to store in information which is of integer which is having very less size, then you can use short int, and it's again 2 bytes, and you can use %hd for the short byte. And then you have unsigned int. So you can store either integer signed or unsigned. So in case of the unsigned int, again you can use 2 bytes. The size is 2 bytes or usually 4 bytes for that %u. Then long int. So you have int, you have short int, unsigned int, and long int. Again it is 4, at least 4 and usually 8 bytes, and it's %ld or %li. And then you have long int, long int, that's again %lld, %lli, unsigned long int, unsigned long int, and then signed character, and then unsigned character. So you have different what you can call it as data types available. For that it is divided in this way. And again this gives you a range. Suppose what or how much information we can store, or what is the value of the numbers we can store in these data types. For example, character data type, again it's unsigned or unsigned character. If it is a signed one, then you can use from minus 128 to 127. So you can, if you define a variable of a character, then you can store the value minus 128 to 127, or basically it's ASCII character which can be stored in this way. Unsigned character, where the sign is not considered, then it is like adding minus 128 to 127. So it would be, you will be storing like 0 to 255. Similarly, short, which is 2 bytes, you can store minus 32,768 to 32,767. Let's say if you want to store for the value which is further higher up, then you can use int, short int, and then unsigned int and long int. So long int, where you can usually store number of more than around, I think around 10 digits. That's what you can store in the long int, right? So in this way you can store information, and based on the variable which you have defined and what value you want to store, you can choose the appropriate data type. And you have short long int, and then float, and then double, and then long double. So when you say unsigned character, how it is represented, let us see. So usually like 1 byte is 8-bit means. So in case of the unsigned character, the first is the sign bit. Because there's a signed character, so you have like 7 bits for called as the data bit, and the leftmost bit is for the sign bit, so whether it's positive or negative. So here you are only using the 7 bits effectively for the is called as the data bit. But in case of the unsigned character, we are using all the 8 bits. That's why you can see in this case you are storing, in case of the unsigned character, we can store like 0 to 255. That's how we can use this. And let us get into some programming of uh, actually using this data type, and then we will come back to what is called as understand the keywords, identifiers, and all. So with the examples, I will again explain what is a proper identifier, what is a valid identifier, what is an invalid identifier. So let's head back to the programming. So the third program, let us start third program. Data types dot c include stdio.h void main. So let us use different data types. So let's start with the character data type. So char. So let us say define a variable c is equal to, let us say I want to store this value. Then so I want to print the value of the char. So then I have to say printf. And for char, we have to use %c. %c for the character, and then let me use slash n for new line character once we want to write the next line, and then c. So when I run this, let us build this using the GCC, and it is successfully built. And let us run this program. So it gets A, right? So the value A is stored, and let us understand, like as per my system, what is the size of this particular variable. Then you can use what is called as size of, and it is %lu slash n. we have size of the C. So let us run this. C size is 1 byte, so it occupies 1 byte, right? So that's what we have seen here. The character 1 byte. Then let us use integer. Say int age is equal to some value, and then we'll say printf. So for integer, you can use %d as the format specifier, and then you can use the age, and we'll see the size of this. We can use the size. So in this case, it is age, see its size is 4 bytes. So int it is 4 bytes. So let us put this in a new line. Like this you can use. Then the float amount in 999.50 percent of, and let us run this. So here again, so by default it takes this many decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the size is again. So like this we can use this, and then the double. So let us look back at this. You have double. So some bigger amount. So you can see the format specifier for double. It's %lf. Okay, so it's built successfully. And again, here it is again taking 4 byte. Okay, so it is income. So size is 8. So in this way, we can start using the data types. So here we are using like income is a variable, amount is a variable, and then we have age is a variable, and C is also a variable. So there is a rules for defining the variable. Let us see what are the rules for defining the variable and how do we use it. So we call it as an identifier. So we call it as an identifier. So identifier is a collection of alphanumeric character that begins either with an alphabetical character or an underscore. So any identifier should start with an alphabetical character or underscore, which are used to represent the various programming elements. It could be a variable, it could be a function, array, structures, unions, and labels. So the important thing is it has to start either with the alphabetical character or a underscore. So here in this case, we have used all these variables and it should start with alphabetical character or underscore. So there are some rules associated with identifier. Identifier in general, it is for all these things: variables, functions, arrays, structures, unions, labels, and all. Okay, so it should start with, as mentioned earlier, it should start with the alphabet or underscore, and it should be followed by any character, digit, or underscore. That's fine. It should not begin with a numerical digit, and it can be uppercase or lowercase, and they are all this is case sensitive. So uppercase, suppose a and lowercase a both are different. It's case sensitive. So commas or blank spaces cannot be specified within identifier. Suppose if I have identifier first name, I cannot give a space between first and name. So and also you cannot use a keyword. You cannot use a keyword to represent an identifier. And the length of the identifier should not be more than 31 character. It should not be more than 31 character. So identifier usually you should define identifier so that it is meaningful. So anyone who is going to read the program should be able to understand what is the purpose of using that identifier. So that should be meaningful. It should be short as much as possible, but it has to convey the meaning and it should be easy to read. So these are the few things we have to identify. So the valid identifiers like total, sum, average, underscore, m underscore, these are all valid, but you cannot start with to sum. Okay, so because here it starts with a numerical digit. Int is a reserved keyword, char is also reserved. You cannot use m plus n because it is a special character. So like this, you should consider when you are defining a identifier. So let us say if I define something like that, here the Visual Studio Code itself is going to throw the error. Let us say I into age. See, here you will get a red here. So it says this is invalid. So this is a invalid character. So this is a single line comment. So this is a invalid identifier, in this case variable. Okay, so this is not a valid one, it is an invalid one. So that is what is the advantage of using these editors. It will show you at the time of writing the program itself, so what is a valid and what is invalid. Other than this, you have many keywords. So there are 32 keywords in C programming, and each one has a special meaning. Like you have auto, break, case, character. The one which we have used, like so far we are using int, like float. All are different. What you can call it as reserved keywords, like long. the data types which you have used, short, and the loops like for, go to, all are while. These are all the different result keywords. So you cannot use it. You cannot use it as a variable name or a constant name, etc. It is reserved by the C programming for a specific reason or a specific purpose. So that's how you can use this. So with this, in this session, I wanted to demonstrate how to use the different data types, how to define a data type, I mean how to define an identifier or a variable, and how to assign a value to it, and how do we print it, and how do we get the size of a particular variable, and also the format specifier. So, hope you understood this. Please keep on typing along with me, or you practice later. The more and more you practice, you will be getting more confidence. So thanks for watching this particular session. Again, we'll be coming up with some more interesting sessions.